Oh shit. Deputy, I'm picking up something new out of Holland Valley. It's a broadcast from John. You need to see this.
We are all sinners. Every one of us. You, me. Even the Father knows deeply what is sin. It's a poison that clouds our minds. What if I told you you could be free from sin? What if I told you that everything you ever dreamed could come true? What if I told you that everything could be overcome if you embraced an idea? That freedom from sin can come from the power of just one word. Yes, I am a sinner. Yes, I wish to be unburdened. Yes, I must be redeemed. If you're watching this, know that you have been selected. You will be cleansed. You will confess your sins, and you will be offered atonement. Don't worry. You don't have to do anything. We'll come for you. Welcome to Eden's Gate.
Ty, let me ask you, what would Antifa have an issue with someone like Brad, or I think it's Tom Robb's group in Arkansas, somebody who wants to have a separatist community that's white, because Antifa has no problem with black separatist movements in their communities. They evidently have no problem with Chinatowns. They have no problem with Mexicans that all congregate and live in the same area. So what would Antifa have a problem with someone like what Brad's talking about, white separatism? Why would they have a problem? What is their general argument? I mean, I know you can't speak for every Antifa person, but I mean, just in general, what would they have a problem with it?
It would all get compared to Jim Crow instantly. It would all be, we're going back to Jim Crow. We're going back to whites and blacks only. We're going back to this. But then almost simultaneously, I've seen a lot of blacks only stuff popping over the last few years. It's like, so there is the association, but because communism has you focus on these historical fallacies. So it's like you're focusing on Nazism, but you're also focusing on the era of slavery. So there's essentially little to nothing that either of you could do in that space that would not be compared to one of those two eras based off of general.
Even if like the separatist community in Arkansas and other places, they're not asking the government to enforce some sort of Jim Crow type of segregation. They just want to live in their own little area. Maybe they buy their own land, 1,000 acres or something. I don't know. But there would be no like government Jim Crow type laws. It's just a group of people just rather just live in their own little neighborhood, their own area, or on their own property or whatever. I have never understood the problem with that. Why they're so fearful of that.
Well, I can say too, like, I think a lot of the reason that they're fearful of that is probably the same reason I'm fearful of Epic City. It's probably the same residual leftover of, if they can have a city, what can take, or a town, what's going to stop them from expanding?
Okay.
Like a territorial land grab. Like imagine, like, I know you guys probably don't play a lot of video games, but a lot of open world video games right now are categorized like this. You have a giant open world map, and I'll use Far Cry 5 as an example because that was one that was used to demonize the right. It's basically a David Koresh type cult leader comes in. He takes over a whole part of Montana, and it's basically open world Montana. It's probably one of the best games ever. But basically uses psychedelics and drugs and all this to take over Montana after infiltrating all the systems. And essentially the map is divided up. You have the main boss on whatever side of the map, and then you'll have like 3 little mini bosses, which would be like the underlings. And then you'll have different towns, right? You'll have different towns, different areas that you have to capture. And your ultimate goal is to pick off the underlings one by one until you get to the big guy. Antifa thinks of life like a video game. So to them, what they're seeing is outpost. They're seeing conquered areas. They're seeing land grabs, essentially occupation. So, which, like, again, that's kind of how I see Epic City, the jihadi city, is like, I'm like, you fuckers are coming in, you're occupying, you're going to push all of your Islamic beliefs on us, you're going to rape your children, you are going to abuse your wives. I do not feel like I should have to tolerate this. I would say Antifa probably views that in the exact same way. And maybe in some degree, I feel it in the same way, even though I have more of an understanding of those type of culture, and there's a lot of understanding to be had, and it's not as scary as in some cases. But now I think that's really what it is they see the United States as a map. I mean, because it fucking is. But it's like whenever Trump takes a state, say Trump takes Georgia. Georgia is now a white supremacist state. Texas flips red. Texas is now a white supremacist state. That's now their territory. So that's kind of how it's viewed. I think it's the best way I could put that.
So they're worried about, okay, I understand that. They're worried about the very nature of it spreading.
Because you got to remember, white supremacy is something to be defeated, not tolerated.
But at the same time, I'm not talking about supremacy. I'm talking about separation.
Separation?
It wouldn't be seen as the same thing, though, because in their eyes, it's equated as the exact same thing. Which is why I think these conversations are so powerful, because I didn't even realize before having these conversations. I'm like, oh yeah, there is kind of a difference. But because there's such a lack of education, because mainstream media is not going to be like, hey, we found this guy, Brother Ryan. He was in the Ku Klux Klan and the Aryan Brotherhood, but this is his life now, and he's got a really good positive message about being yourself and finding your inner bliss. They ain't gonna do that. They sure as hell ain't gonna give you space to explain your background, how you're basically y'all's culture and Antifa's culture are meant to be kept separate through social media, through social interaction, through media division. Your world and what was my world were never supposed to meet. Ever. That was not the game plan. I'm probably the only former white Antifa member sitting down with people like you, because that was never on the table. It was never even a consideration. So how am I supposed to understand white separatism, white supremacy, if I'm not allowed to hear you speak? If the colleges in the United States, Ku Klux Klan used to come to the colleges, as it should be. But they're not allowed to, because students are not allowed to know about your world. College students, the educated ones who are supposed to build our world and restructure our society and help save America by becoming doctors and lawyers, they're screaming about people like you all day. They have zero understanding of your culture, in the same way that probably up until meeting me, y'all didn't really have much understanding of Antifa's culture, because until you have that interaction from somebody who's actually been there, everybody else is just going to lie to you or come to you with some sort of political agenda behind it. That's kind of how I see it.
You're probably right that we probably weren't supposed to ever actually sit down and talk.
Just know I never killed myself. Just throwing it out there.
Yep, and I'm not suicidal either.
How about you, Ryan? You feeling down lately?
I know you've heard stories about me. That I'm a liar. A manipulator. That I poison people's minds. Well, let me tell you a different story. A true story. There once was a young woman who had been ostracized by her community, bullied by friends, abused by her family. She took to a needle for help. She was all alone. She wanted to die. And then she met the father. He gave her hope and confidence. The father showed her how special she was. She was full of love and life. He gave her a new family, one that accepted her just as she was. The young woman no longer wished to die. She had been given purpose. One day, the father brought her here. He asked if she had faith in him. He asked if she would be willing to die for him. The young woman, who very much wished to live, was scared. The father told her this was her test. He would have faith in her if she had faith in him. So she closed her eyes and left. The father kept his word. The path to Eden is clear to those who have faith.
Walk the path.
You must have faith. Let go